might have thought the Syrian war had reached a kind of stalemate. Well, in the last few days, things have changed. With Russian help, the Assad government has made gains. Our diplomatic editor, Mark Urban, reports on the changing situation there.
In fighting around Aleppo, Syria's biggest city, President Assad's forces have been making progress. Supported by hundreds of Russian airstrikes, they've taken the initiative just as diplomacy has stalled. Since last autumn, the Syrian army, with Russian air support, has been engaging in a multi-pronged offensive. By November, they'd broken through to Quiris air base southeast of Aleppo. In January, they started making gains in Latakia province, and a couple of days ago, cut the rebel corridor into Aleppo. All of this bombing and ground fighting has led hundreds of thousands to leave their homes. Some estimates put it as high as 750,000 people, with anything up to 100,000 moving in the past week into an area just south of Turkey. That all exacerbates tensions between their government and Russia.
Mark Urban there. Well, the Daily Mail writer, Peter Oborne, has just returned from Syria's largest city, or once largest, Aleppo. Now, he's written vividly about what the destruction and destitution is that he found there, and he's with me now. Peter, thanks for coming in. And we've got some of the photos which we'll show as you speak. But it's sort of amazing that you can get in and, find a hotel to stay in when you're there.
Yes, well, it's quite a difficult journey now from Damascus, but they've reopened the road in. They've sort of lifted the siege. From the government point of view, they've lifted the siege of Aleppo, so you were able to get in. And there's a hotel called the Pullman Hotel, freezing cold, very damp. I was the only guest there, apart from a French TV journalist.
Right.
Water, no hot water. There's electricity about 8 hours a day, I reckon. The internet doesn't work, so you're pretty isolated.
I mean, the population of Aleppo it's just plummeted, hasn't it? It's less than half what it was.
Shocking, actually. You really get a sense of a city where the population has gone, and particularly among the Christians, down from about 200,000 before the crisis. Wonderful ancient Christian community going down.
We're looking at some of the pictures now. There's sort of the rubble left and empty streets.
Yeah. My regime minder I asked her to take the pictures as I wandered around. But the Christian population down from 200,000 to about 20,000.
Wow.
I talked to the pastors, desperate to get their congregations to stay, and the imams desperate to get the people to stay. But it's very hard.
But who has stayed? I mean, because there are still hundreds of thousands of people in Aleppo. Who are they?
Almost everybody seems to be a government employee, teachers.
Right.
Lots and lots of refugees from the east of the city who fled Nusra or the Free Syrian Army.
They fled the rebels to get into the government help.
Yeah, for instance, Aleppo University, there are 20 great big dormitory blocks. 17 of them are now full of refugees, about 10 or 20 even, to a little room for 2 people. And I wandered around that. I mean, so... and like Agatha Christie's hotel, where she wrote her novel, the Baron Hotel, which is a great tourist place, refugees, the owners thrown open to, and they all have most harrowing stories.
You've said, I mean, no basic amenities in your hotel. What about really important amenities, like drinking water?
Yeah, again, there's no water, running water coming into Aleppo. It's the plant's been stopped by ISIS. And so what you see everywhere is digging wells, people carting water around, and it's a huge expense, because you have to buy it from the private sector now because the state water's gone. But
you say the siege, it's not under siege, because a lot of people think of Aleppo as being a city under siege, but it's not.
Well, it's been reported widely. What has happened is, and this is the turning point probably of the war, is that the Turkish border, the supply line to ISIS, to Nusra, to the jihadi groups and the FSA, has been blocked. It's being encircled by the Syrian army, plus with great help from the Russians. And so it's actually Al-Nusra is under siege now, instead of the other way around. Aleppo was under siege most of the winter. Nobody reported that. You couldn't get in or out from Damascus or anywhere else, I didn't think. But now that it's the the opposition forces who are being besieged, that becomes a story. It tells you which side the media's been on.
Right, right. Look, just talk a little about civic societies, because you met a rather sort of interesting journalist when you were there. Tell us his story.
Yes, it's wonderful. Oh, but I asked, where's the newspaper? And I was told there was one paper in Aleppo left. And there had been 35. When this old boy, he started out in 1960s, 35 papers. And this paper, I went into his office, up some of the rydal smelling stairs. Mortar had gone off quite recently, and he said his story was it had been a daily paper flourishing before the war. Then it became a weekly paper shortages, and the journalists start to get threatened, and they go on the net, and then actually the internet. And they told me they do it through something called 3G, but that's beyond me what 3G is. So
that's a mobile thing, isn't it? Peter, you go there, you see it with your own eyes. We've all been hearing about it. In just a few sentences, does it change your view of anything, your way of looking at the conflict at all?
Well, you meet these amazing stories of heroism. For instance, I went to the education department and I met this teacher. She'd spent 5 days making a journey which, before the war, had taken 40 minutes to get from East Aleppo, and it was now to get her wages. She was going to go back. The ISIS-held area. She said that the Syrian forces are advancing, or should shortly reach it. She said, I will be held along with my husband and children as a human shield, and she was going back. And the heroism I felt, just the stoicism and the bravery, and you're always meeting the doctors. They were wonderful in the hospital. So you meet these incredible people.
Peter, thank you very much. Thanks.